In these videos, we'll be discussing the Comelec checkpoint rules, the crimes involved, and up to the prosecution of illicit crimes. However, before the discussion proper, we look at previous videos regarding violation of gun ban. These videos were provided via YouTube by ANC and GTV.
10. Doris Bigornia tells us more.
With a little over 2 weeks to go before the May 13 elections, several incidents of election-related violence were reported. Among them, the attack on the convoy of the wife of former Vice President Teofisto Ginggona, Hingoog Mayor Rudy Ginggona. But the Philippine National Police says the number of election-related violence is lower this year. Authorities have recorded just 45 cases since January compared to 75 cases reported in the same period in 2010.
Noong 2010, sobrang nag-shoot up dahil sa isang event, yung Maguindanao Massacre. Kasi ang dami-daming namatay doon. Presidential, dyan mainit. Comparing elections, mas mainit sa lokal kaysa sa national.
The COMELEC says it is ready to place areas with hot local races under areas of concern, immediate concern, grave concern, and COMELEC control.
Mas lalong tumitindi ang init ng halalan, no? Dagdag mo pa diyan na mainit talaga, nakakainit ng ulo. Sa mga kandidato, sa mga supporters, konting lamig lang po ng ulo, no? Hindi makakabuti sa kandidato ninyo.
The poll body also assures the public they will keep an even closer watch on election hotspots. Doris Bigornia, ABS-CBN News.
May panibagong karahasan na iniuugnay sa papalapit na barangay at sangguniang kabataan elections. Balitang hatid ni Tina Panganiban Perez.
Ang pamamaril sa isang punong barangay sa San Jose, Libon, Albay, isa lang sa 4 na posibleng insidente ng election-related violence na iniulat sa COMELEC sa pagsisimula ng election period.
Ito ay matindi nating binabantayan dahil may posibilidad na ito ay lumawak pa o maging lalong tensyonado ang sitwasyon sa mga lugar na yan.
Inaalam na raw ng COMELEC kung kasama ang lugar na pinangyarihan ng insidente sa 27 lugar na tinukoy at binabantayan ng PNP bilang election hotspots.
Makapag-take tayo ng immediate measure kaagad, either number 1, magdadagdag ba tayo ng puwersa ng AFP o PNP, o number 2, ilalagay ba namin under COMELEC control yung mga lugar na yan.
Base sa datos na nakalap ng GMA Integrated News Research, sa pinakahuling barangay SK elections noong 2018, 22 ang naitalang election-related shooting incidents at 2 insidente ng illegal possession of firearms. Paalala ng COMELEC sa mga kandidato at kanilang mga taga-suporta, hinay-hinay lang. Hindi raw dapat gamitin ang karahasan para manalo sa eleksyon. Sa ikalawang araw pa lang ng election period, sabi ng PNP, may 15 gun ban violations na silang naitala.
We will be intensifying our checkpoints, kagaya yung nangyari sa Albay. So we will look on how the deployment was done, bakit nakalusot despite of these so many checkpoints na dapat may mga stricter implementation of this gun ban, bakit may mga shooting incident pa.
Is there a failure in the implementation of gun ban?
Hindi naman tayo naniniwala dyan. Talaga lang madaming matitigas ang ulo.
As we can see in these videos, we really need the strict implementation of the gun ban in order to prevent bloodshed and loss of lives. Okay, we will start now the discussion proper. The outline of the discussion are as follows. First, the crimes subject of the COMELEC checkpoint. Second, the COMELEC checkpoint and the searches rules. And third, the arrest. 4, the preliminary examination. And 5, inquest proceeding. And the subsequent filing of the information, which will be followed by the prosecution. These are the crimes subject of the COMELEC checkpoint: the gun ban violation and illegal possession of firearm. Now we will be discussing gun ban. These are the requirements in order to see to it that there is indeed a violation of the gun ban. First, that the person is bearing, carrying, or transporting firearms or other deadly weapons to such position occurs during the election period, and the weapon is carried in a public place as enunciated in the case of Mark Ramsey versus People of the Philippines, GR number 245334, February 8, 2023. So what is needed here is the carrying, second is the election period, and it is committed in a public place. Now, with regards with the illegal possession of firearms, it requires that there must be existence of a firearm. And second, that the fact that the accused who own or possess the firearm does not have the corresponding license or permit to possess the same as declared by the Supreme Court in the case of Arturo Solano versus People of the Philippines, GR number 23-21-47, June 8, 2020. So, in illegal possession of firearms, it requires that there must be a firearm, and second, that the person carrying the firearm does not have the necessary permit to possess the same. We may ask that why deadly weapon not included as deadly weapon. This discussed by the Honorable Supreme Court in the case of Jubit Buelia A. Abalain, petitioner versus People of the Philippines, respondent. GR number 2440-27, April 11, 2023. This is a recent case. Now, it is provided under Section 261Q of the Omnibus Election Code. It is stated there that Section 261 prohibited acts. The following shall be guilty of an election offense. Q. Carrying of firearms outside residence or place of business. Section 32 of RA or Republic Act number 7166 provides, Section 32, who may bear firearms. During the election period, no person shall bear firearms or transporting a or other deadly weapons in public places, including building, street, park, private vehicle, public conveyance, even if licensed to possess or carry the same, unless authorized in writing by the Commission or the COMELEC. Now, the Supreme Court said that 261Q of the Omnibus Election Code and RE 7166 only contemplate firearms. The general term other deadly weapons is restricted and limited by specific term firearms. Thus, to come within the ambit of this election offense, the deadly weapon must be first, one which is regulated or one for which a license is needed to possess or carry the same, and one of which the COMELEC may issue an authorization to possess or carry during the election period. So, in order that the same be considered as deadly weapon as an election offense, it requires a license to carry the same. And number two, it requires for the issuance of authorization to possess issued by the COMELEC. Okay, we'll proceed to number two, the COMELEC checkpoint and searches rules. So far as checkpoint procedure is concerned, the following are provided by the COMELEC resolution. First, the establishment of checkpoint by the AFP, PNP, PCG really requires the coordination of the election officer. Now, the checkpoint should be led by a regular member of the AFP, PNP, or PCG with the rank of at least lieutenant and manned by a personnel with complete service uniform. The nameplates of the said personnel should be clearly visible. Third, checkpoint established at the well-lighted area. So, klaro, very clear, with complete placement of signboards. Also, the search should be only being visual, without opening the car doors. And number 5, the occupants cannot be compelled to step out of the vehicle. They are not required to step out of the vehicle. Number 6, no person may be subjected to a physical or bodily search in the absence of any reasonable ground to believe that the person has just committed, is about to commit, or is committing a crime. And then lastly, public is not obliged to open the glove, a compartment, trunk, or bags. So these are the checkpoint procedures. We'll be discussing now the kinds of searches. There are 2 types. One is search with a warrant and B, warrantless search. Now we'll just focus on the warrantless search, considering that during COMELEC, the conduct of COMELEC checkpoint, the searches conducted there does not require a warrant. Now we'll go further. There are 2 types. There are many types of warrantless search. First is those warrantless search provided under Section 85 of COMELEC Resolution 11067. First is when there is a unusual conduct or unnatural reaction on the part of the person being searched. And such unusual conduct convinces the personnel searching the person to believe that a criminal activity exists. Or number 2 is when the personnel, the PNP or FP, receives a prior confidential information. That's the two warrantless search as provided by Section 85 under COMELEC Resolution 11067. Now, we'll go to the warrantless search based on jurisprudence or based on the decision of the Supreme Court. First, there is a warrantless search incidental to a lawful arrest. And second, search of evidence in plain view. And number 3, search of a moving vehicle. 4 is consented warrantless search. And 5, custom search. 6, stop and frisk. And lastly, exigent and emergency circumstances. Now, we'll just discuss only searches of evidence in plain view and search in moving vehicle. And number 3 is the consented warrantless search, because the others, such like the warrantless search incidental to lawful arrest, this will not apply during COMELEC checkpoint because we must first arrest, then search. Now, generally, during the COMELEC checkpoint, you will first conduct warrantless search, and then if you find a firearm there or there is a violation of the law, then you will make an arrest. So we'll just focus on the plain view, moving vehicle, and consented warrantless search. Now we'll proceed with the warrantless search in COMELEC checkpoint. The consented search requires or as is a condition, the following must be present. that there must be a right and the knowledge of the person that this indeed a right that exists, and his or her intention to waive it. This is provided under ordinance entered by the Supreme Court in the case of People of the Philippines versus Chua Pusan, JR number 128222, June 17, 1999. And the second warranty search is search with regards to moving vehicle. This is like the one provided under Comelec resolution that there must be a probable cause or a prior unusual conduct that will lead the searching personnel that there was indeed or there is an ongoing crime being committed. This is provided under or enunciated or declared by the Supreme Court in the case of Rudy Caballes versus GR number 136292, January 15, 2002. And lastly is the Plainview Doctrine. There are a lot of cases with regards to this doctrine. It requires that the searching personnel or the law enforcement officer is in the position for which he can view the area that he discovers in evidence in plain view or and the same is inadvertently discovered. And third is that it is immediate and apparent, clearly visible or clearly apparent or without any obstacle. You can see the evidence of a crime or we call contraband or anything subject to seizure, as enunciated in the case of Arturo Soliano versus People of the Philippines, JR number 232147, June 8, 2020. So now we'll go to arrest. Types of arrest: A, arrest with warrant, and B, warrantless arrest. During conduct of Comelec checkpoint, usually it does not involve issuance of a warrant coming from the court. Now, Section 5 of Rule 113 of the Rules of Court provides this warrantless arrest. First, flagrante delicto, and second, hot pursuit, and third is a person who escaped from detention. With regards to flagrante delicto, the following are the requirements: that the person being arrested must execute an overt act, indicating that he has just committed or is actually committing or attempting to commit a crime. And such overt act is done in the presence or within the view of the arresting officer, meaning a crime is committed and the commission of the crime is in the presence of the arresting officer, in order that it is considered as flagrante delicto, a valid warrantless arrest. We'll proceed with the discussion of involving preliminary examination. This is so-called the case build-up stage or the gathering of evidence. The person involved here is the chief of police, or station commander, or the duly authorized investigator. He shall, in this stage, he must take the affidavit of the arresting officer, take the statement of the respondent, the person being arrested, and third, confiscate the firearm and issue the corresponding receipt. Number 4, the respondent or cause the respondent to sign an affidavit binding said respondent to be present at the preliminary investigation at a later date before the prosecutor, and failure to do so shall constitute a waiver to present evidence as defense. And lastly, take the statement of the witnesses. Now, after this one, the Chief of Police should submit the investigation report together with all the documents and evidence gathered during the preliminary examination within 3 days from arrest to the corresponding prosecutor, furnishing the Joint Security or MGSCC through the election officer or the Joint Security Control Center. In between the conduct of preliminary examination and the inquest proceeding, there is so-called 12-18-36 period. This is provided under dated Department Circular Number 50, dated August 15, 2012. This is the guidelines on the application of Article 125 of the Revised Penal Code. This Article 125 of the Revised Penal Code provides that the detained person should be delivered to the proper judicial authorities within 12 hours for light offenses or light penalties, and 18 hours for correctional penalties, and 36 hours for afflictive penalties. Afflictive penalties are the penalties penalized by prison mayor, reclusion temporal to perpetua. This covers the 6 years to 12 years, and reclusion temporal 12 years to 20 years, and up is perpetua. Arresto minor, this is the light penalties, or 1 day to 30 days. And correctional is arresto mayor, 1 month to 6 months, and prison correctional is 6 months to 6 years. Now, the counting of the prescribed 12, 18, 36 periods shall be done by our starting from the time of detention. An inquest proceeding shall be conducted by the duty inquest prosecutor designated to act as such, even during weekends. However, under exceptional case where no inquest prosecutor is available during weekend or a non-working day, the inquest should be immediately conducted on the first business day following the arrest. To continue, the following are the exceptional circumstances under 12-18-36 period. First is the observance of non-working holidays, during which it becomes legally and physically impossible to properly file an information in court. So, this is considered as an exceptional circumstances, whereby it's legally and physically impossible to properly file the information in court. This is taken or can be seen in the case of Surya versus Desierto, GR numbers 153524, January 31, 2005. And the another exceptional circumstances is extraneous factors like means of communication and transportation, the hour of the arrest, the time of surrender or the accused, which impedes the conduct of usual law enforcement and prosecution functions. May problema sa time or baka sa mga malayong lugar to. The arresting officer has the hard time of in the enforcement of the or prosecution function. And caveat, it should be emphasized, however, that the foregoing cases are mere exceptions to the general rule, are not in any way to be used as a grounds for abuse. They can be only invoked when the circumstances warrants. In no case shall the above-mentioned factors absolve the public officer or employees from liability under Article 125 if it can be shown that the delay in the delivery of the detainee is attended by malice, bad faith, or gross negligence. Kung sinasadya talaga na hindi ma-deliver sa judicial authorities yung detainee. They decided or the abuse the probation by really arresting the officer, arresting the person on the weekend so that he cannot or she cannot avail of any legal remedies such as bail, and he cannot be delivered to the judicial authorities. Now we come to the last portion, which is the inquest proceeding. Based on Department of Justice Circular Number 15 dated July 16, 2024. This is the time or this the stage whereby the prosecutor will determine if there was indeed a valid warrantless arrest or the custody is validly conducted. The procedure are as follows. There's a filing of the referral letter. This submitted by the arresting officer or the law enforcement agency, LIA. Particularly received by the docket section of the prosecution's office. The referral letter shall include all required evidence, affidavit of the arresting officer, investigation report, complete affidavit, or judicial affidavit, among others. Then, there's a provisional determination of validity of the warrantless arrest by the head of the prosecution office. And after the provisional determination of whether or not the warrantless arrest is validly conducted, there's the determination of the completeness of evidence. If it is if the evidence gathered are complete, it should be docketed and assigned to the inquest prosecutor. If it's incomplete, the law enforcement agency should require to submit the lacking evidence within the applicable period under Article 125, the Revised Penal Code. Once complete, the case shall be docketed again for inquest. Now, if the LIA fails to deliver the required evidence, the arrested officer should be released. Or if the warrantless arrest was invalid, the person should be ordered released also. Lastly, the presence of counsel is required during the inquest proceeding. The said counsel should be given a copy of the referral and its attachment. Now, if the respondent opts to have to avail of the preliminary investigation, he can do so, but he is required to sign a waiver under the provision of Article 125, the Revised Penal Code. It should be with the presence of the counsel. And lastly is that when the prosecutor received already everything, he immediately resolved the case and discussed the following matters: the provisional determination of the validity of the warrantless arrest, existence of the prima facie evidence with reasonable certainty of conviction. Then afterwards, the prosecutor now will prepare the information, preparing for the filing of the same before the courts. Now, there's a question, what to file in case there's a firearm search or seized during the conduct of the community checkpoint. Whether to file an illegal possession of firearm or will file a violation of the gun ban. Section 1 of the Presidential Decree number 1866, enacted on June 29, 1983, as amended by Republic Act number 8294 on June 6, 1997, to quote, Section 1, unlawful possession of firearm. The penalty of prison correctional in its maximum period shall be imposed upon any person who shall unlawfully possess any low-powered firearm, provided that no other crime was committed. If homicide or murder is committed with the use of unlicensed firearm, such use of unlicensed firearm shall be considered as an aggravating circumstance. If the violation of this section is in furtherance of or incident to or in connection with the crime of rebellion or insurrection or sedition or attempted coup d'etat, such violation shall be absorbed as an element of the crime of rebellion or insurrection, sedition, or attempted coup d'etat. To summarize, the regular penalty of prison correctional or prison mayor is imposed if there's no other crime committed. However, if there's other crime committed, illegal possession of firearm should be dismissed, but the other crime or case should remain. Now, it will be considered only as an aggravating. The illegal possession of firearm is only considered as an aggravating if the crime committed is homicide or murder. It is committed with the use of unlicensed firearm. Now, also in last case is when the possession of the firearm is absorbed as an element of the crime, such as in the crime of rebellion or insurrection, sedition, or attempted coup d'etat. The Supreme Court in the case of Vicente Agouti A. Matul, petitioner versus Honorable Manuel F. Lorenzo, presiding judge, RTC Branch 43, Manila, and the people of the Philippines, respondents. GR number 142675, June 22, 2005. Now, the accused, the Supreme Court said that the accused can be convicted of simple illegal possession of firearms, provided that no other crime was committed by the person arrested, such as violation of the community gun ban. Meaning, if there's such in this case, if there's violation of community gun ban, only the person should be arrested only for violation of the gun ban. The other crime of simple illegal possession of firearms should be dismissed. In Angel Silino Sr., petitioner versus Court of Appeals, Cebu City, Honorable Dilano F. Villaros, presiding judge, Branch 16, RTC, Capiz, and people of the Philippines, responded. GR number 170562, June 29, 2007. it's stated there that no other crime was committed means that there must be prior conviction of such other crime in order to be considered as committed, not merely accused of committing it. So the Supreme Court added that accusation is not synonymous with guilt, meaning that the phrase "no other crime was committed" should mean that there was already a prior conviction, so that there is that the crime was committed already, because there must be prior conviction, not where there is only mere accusation that the person committed the crime. In this last case of Erwin Libuon de la Cruz, petitioner versus People of the Philippines, respondent, JR number 2093-87, January 11, 2016, the Honorable Supreme Court acquitted the petitioner in this case for illegal possession of firearms since he simultaneously violated the gun ban. This court also held that the unlicensed firearm need not be actually used in the course of committing the other crime for the application of Section 1 of Republic Act number 8294, because previously there is a decision of the Supreme Court that for the phrase "no other crime was committed," the Supreme Court in that case said that the other crime committed should be committed with the use of the unlicensed firearm. Now, in this later case, 2016, this De La Cruz case, clearly the Supreme Court said that the crime committed should not be committed with the use actually used in the firearm should be actually used in the commission of the crime. It does not require that there must be actual use of the unlicensed firearm in order that the phrase "no other crime was committed" will be successfully invoked. As an example of these crimes committed with the use of unlicensed firearm: kidnapping for ransom, alarm and scandal, or slight physical injuries. However, the dilemma of this the Supreme Court in these many cases, the court said that the ruling is not without misgiving, considering that it would mean that the petitioner's acquittal of the more serious offense of illegal possession of firearm, which carries a much severe penalty than the violation of the Comelec gun ban. So a person may be acquitted of the more serious offense of illegal possession of firearm, and he may be convicted only of Comelec gun ban, which provides only for a lesser penalty. However, the Supreme Court added that the sole power of the courts is to interpret and apply the law. It does not include the power to correct the Congress by reading into law what is not written therein. So it's not for them to the so-called judicial legislation. The three departments of the government, the policy maker, the legislative department, and it will be executed by the executive department headed by the president. And if there's a conflict there or right being violated, where now the Supreme Court will interpret and try to resolve or settle the controversy. Thank you.